Welcome to Me Time with Mind Escape Vibe, where it is your time to be kind to your mind. I am so excited for my guests today, Katherine Wintsch, the founder and CEO of the Mom Complex. She helps large companies develop better products for mothers. I'm excited to have her on today to talk about her book, Slay Like a Mother. Combined with over a decade of research with her own struggles with low self esteem to help women slay their dragon of self doubt and live their best lives. Katherine, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. My dog is barking right now. I'm sorry. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. So, I always like to start and ask each guest, what's a mental victory vibe celebration? What have you done for yourself lately to pour into your own cup?
That is a beautiful question. I went swimming the other day for exercise, and I've never done that. I don't think in my whole life. And I just went to the pool and swam laps, and it was really beautiful being submersed below the water and kind of tuning out, the outside world. So I felt like I was not only getting some exercise that was pain free, and impact free, but also just kind of cleared my mind. And I loved it.
I like it. I like it. I'm not an avid swimmer, but I get it. My kids are though.
Yeah.
What's your personal empowerment theme song?
Probably Alicia Keys. This girl is on fire. I love to, blast that in my car. And when I'm having a bad day, just kind of think about the things that I have done and have accomplished. Kind of reminding myself to be kind to myself.
I know that's right. That's one of my go-tos as well. I'm so excited to talk about your book, Slay Like a Mother. I enjoyed it. And there were some points in there when I was reading, I was like, why are you dragging me right now? Why are you dragging me right now? So I want to talk about it and just really get into it because I think it's really a great book. So thank you for coming on to talk about your book. Why don't you tell us about yourself? What was the foundation of writing the book?
Sure. So 20 years of my life, pretty much from age 15 to 35, I lived with what I refer to as this dragon of self-doubt, this negative voice in my head that said, you're not thin enough, nice enough, tough enough, strong enough, mom enough, wife enough, all the things. And it just yelled at me for 20 years. And no matter what I accomplished on the outside, I never felt good enough on the inside. And it was, for those people that have dragons of self doubt, you know what I'm talking about. And it's an exhausting way to live. But thankfully, after years of therapy and self help books and Oprah episodes, I learned to love myself from the inside so that I no longer require it from the outside. And, life's not perfect. I still have challenges. Everybody does. But dealing with the chaos around me is so much easier when I'm not also dealing with the chaos inside of me. So that's
Yes.
been a real gift.
Yes, I think you just dropped the gem right there. The chaos outside of me doesn't get to me as much because I have resolved the chaos inside. So let me just tell we about to get in it. This is about to be a great conversation.
Let's go. What stuck out to you in the book? Tell me.
The first thing that stuck out to me was about the dragon because I had a lot of dragons and slaying them, I was not. The dragons were literally burning me up from the inside out. So I really want to talk about how you gave it a face.
Well, that's a great question, and I can't take full credit for it myself. So I had the idea for the book, the premise, the struggling versus suffering, the negative voice, all of that was there in terms of an outline and structure. And it was actually my literary agent, and he's the one, which was kind of cool because he's a guy and doesn't have a lot of self doubt. but he could read the proposal and really understand what I wanted to get into. And I think he could kind of feel the pain, from the pages. And so he was the one that said, I think you need a metaphor that you can weave throughout the book, that'll bring it to life. And he's the one that said, what about a dragon? And as soon as he said it, I just burst into tears. It still makes me want to cry because it was so perfect. And it was perfect on two levels. First, the dragon metaphor works because of exactly what you just said. You feel like you're on fire. You feel like you can't even breathe. You're being suffocated. I mean, all the metaphors of exhaustion are just perfect for the dragon. But also, and maybe even more importantly, when women finish this book and they slay their dragon, I want them to be proud. I want them to be victorious. I want them to carry this book as a badge of honor that they did something that they didn't think they could do. And so I love the heroic nature of it too, because this battle that we wage with ourselves is often silent, right? We don't tell other people we're going through it. And so, when we come out on the other side, we can be okay talking about it.
I think that's great to do. And I think the size of the dragon is different as well. It really depends on the situation. Sometimes the dragon is bigger than you, and sometimes it's very small.
I
But
love hearing you say that. And I love hearing women's different takes. Like for some people, they'll say, I have many dragons, and they
mhm,
show up in different areas of my life or different sizes, like you just said. So a woman will say, well, I just got divorced and my dragon got bigger than ever because then I was dating again. I didn't feel attractive. And so I do think it is an evolution and it's a journey, which I want people to understand. You're not going to read this book or any self-help book and be completely healed,
mhm.
overnight. I do believe that to some extent it will always come back when you're new to something, or you're a rookie at something, or you get a new job, or you have another child, or you get divorced, or you have breast cancer. And so it is, it's a lifelong practice, but it is entirely possible.
I really resonated with that dragon. I'm not going to even kid you. I was like, this, I understand. I think me and this dragon, like we were probably on a first name basis. The dragon was coming for me. Hey, Renee, I'm coming for you today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I know you don't have a fire extinguisher, so I'm about to have a good time.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
literally.
It's about to get hot in here, right? Like it's about to go down. So
Hmm.
when was yours born, Renee? When was your dragon of self-doubt? When did it come on the scene?
I would say in my 20s, probably my mid 20s. Yeah, my mid 20s, because I was a new mom. I had so many responsibilities, and life was just really kicking my tail because I was learning how to navigate life at the same time with children in tow. And the relationship hadn't worked. So I was now a single mom. And the dragon was bigger than ever because you don't feel good about yourself, especially at that time. I didn't feel good about being a single mother. I was ashamed. And that shame stayed with me for a number of years, until I was able to get past that. So I really think it started in my mid 20s. And to be quite honest, that was a really big dragon. And I didn't slay that dragon probably until my 40s.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, it's not like I woke up at 35 and said, hey, it's over. No,
No.
no.
Well, good for you. I mean, it's hard work. And, I think some people underestimate that it's going to be like a quick fix, but it is hard work. It's homework. You have to put it in. And, nobody can do this for you, as you certainly realize. Like, this
Yeah.
is your journey, your dragon, yours to slay. But that also can be empowering, the fact that you can change it. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
change the way that you feel about
Because
yourself.
it's like I had a guest on the podcast a couple months ago. She says the pendulum swings both ways. So when you get on the other side, you're like, I did it.
Oh
But
yeah.
when you're going through it, You don't think you can.
No.
Yeah.
But the beauty is, as you know now, like you will never go back to allowing that. I mean, it's like what we allowed to transpire in our minds, and beat ourselves up and yell at ourselves. Like once you get to the other side of getting that chaos out of your mind and that dragon, again, it might pop back up in different, moments of time in your life, but once you're on the other side, you will never return to letting that dragon run the show.
And is that really being able to understand the differences between struggling versus suffering at that point? How would you explain that in the sense of taming the dragon?
Yeah, that's a great point. So in the book I talk about the difference between struggling and suffering, and yes, that awareness of the two is what helps keep your dragon at bay. So struggles are brought on by external circumstances in your life. I have to feed my family dinner every day of the week. My mother's going through a cancer diagnosis. I'm trying to get a promotion, whatever it is. There's endless struggles. But we dip down into suffering when we yell at ourselves for having those struggles in the first place, or we beat ourselves up for not handling them better. And so I think what I've come to see is I am able to distinguish between the two. And when I am going through, something new or different, I remind myself that this is a struggle and it's supposed to be hard. And I don't have to hate on myself because it's hard. It's hard because I'm new to it. I'm new to having two teenagers and I'm not always good at it, but it doesn't mean that I suck. It means that it's a struggle. And it should be. I've honestly never met another mother that did not say the teenage years were
Yeah.
very difficult. So
Look, they are.
it's not personal to me. And I think when you are suffering with the dragon of self doubt, you take everything personally and everything is your fault because you're a poor excuse for a human being. But yeah, to answer your question, seeing the difference between struggling and suffering prevents that suffering.
What advice would you have for, especially a young mom, going through a lot and just trying to maintain day to day? And she's like, I'm struggling just to maintain day to day, but I feel like I'm suffering too because I just don't believe that I'm going to make it.
Yeah. The first step is to give voice to your struggles. So, the reason that a lot of struggles turn into suffering is because we stay silent about the struggles because we think we're not supposed to have them. We're supposed to be the exception to the rule that teenagers, will be easy for. And, but for a new mom, I would say that find ways to talk about your struggles. If you go on a walk with your girlfriend, ask her, what are you struggling with today? She will ask you the same. With your young children, a great activity that I share in Slay Like a Mother is to, with your young children, each of you share your peak and your pit from the day. So the best part and the worst part of your day. And what this will teach your young children and yourself is that every day has a part to it that sucks. Every day. There is a part of your day today that's going to be bad. And there's a part of tomorrow that's going to be bad. And you should begin to expect it. You should expect the bad things to come instead of being surprised. And again, instead of blaming yourself. And so that is an exercise or an activity that takes less than 2 minutes. And for your children, especially for anybody who has daughters, you will be teaching them at a very young age to articulate the challenges of their life, because dragons of self-doubt thrive in silence and darkness and avoidance. And so we have to give our children the space to say what sucks, and no better time than when they're young to start.
I love that. Hearing you say that, what expected. I woke up this morning and it was there. It was there. And I had to incorporate methods and tools and techniques to bring myself back around. And in doing so, what came to mind, I'm going to read it because I posted today and I post for others, but that post was really for me. I was just sharing it with the world. But what came to mind was align your steps with your vision.
Mm.
And when that came to me, I was like, okay, immediately the sticky notes came out because I needed to align my steps because I woke up like very overwhelmed. I had to do this. Oh my gosh, this. And I was like, Renee, that's not going to work. We got to work through this. These are conversations when I'm slaying my dragon that
Yep.
I am having with myself. Sometimes it's internal, and sometimes I am talking out loud. you know?
And there is nothing wrong with that. I love that you're saying this. I mean, we have to, you lived with this dragon for 20 years. I did too, and so these are old habits. They don't die easy.
Mhm.
Dragons don't die easy. And so I do the same thing, Renee. I will talk to myself out loud. I will be in the dressing room at Target looking at my body that's 10 pounds heavier than it's ever been. And I literally say to myself, it's okay. It's okay. And then I say, it's a good thing your self worth is not dependent on your waist size. Like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's not. And but we have to do that. I love your example, making the post-it notes, saying it out loud. So um we got to be our own, advocate. We have to, and these tips and tricks that you're learning, it's so great that you're sharing them with other people because people don't know what to do.
Yeah, it was funny. I was like, I'm gonna create something around this, some content around this, because I need to create content around this. It was kind of as if creating the content and putting it out in the world, they were serving as my accountability advocate to say, hey, girlfriend, keep it moving,
Yep.
keep it moving. And I was grateful to be able to do that. But to hear you say that, I was like, mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to use your example with other women. I think that's so great to, admit that, that we talk to ourselves. We're cheering ourselves up. We're encouraging, ourselves. And I think using social media for good in that way, there's so much comparison on social media and
Mm-hmm.
it makes us feel bad about ourselves. But you're using it for good for yourself, to remind yourself when you're going back through your own feed later, of this advice. But also you're helping other people, which is beautiful.
Yeah. And we sometimes we forget. I want to talk about the perfect mom paradox. Girl, let me tell you something. When I started reading that, I called my sister and I was like, let me read you this paragraph. She was like, girl, because wow, it is so true. Let's talk about this expectation. Why is it
Yeah.
not uncommon for us to have these unrealistic expectations? And the crazy part is that we won't call them unrealistic
Oh
expectations. We
no.
will call them this is our way of life.
Oh yeah, they're our goals. Like
Yeah.
it's our to-do list. It's not, it doesn't, we don't, it's so warped. I mean, what we think we can and should be accomplishing and doing and what we actually physically can do. And then and it's this vicious cycle. So we set these extraordinary expectations, we fall short, we yell at ourselves for, not being and doing better. And then we set the expectations even higher because then we think, oh, well, if I can just do this, I'll finally feel good about myself.
Yes.
And then what happens? You achieve what you said you wanted to achieve, and you're proud of yourself for like 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
8 days, you're like, good job, good job. And then on the ninth day, you're like, what's next? What am I going to do next? Because this isn't enough. And one of my friends said to me one time about my just endless need to fill up my bucket and put things in it and do and achieve and accomplish and all the stuff. And he said, Catherine, I think you have a leaky bucket. There's just a hole
Yeah.
at the bottom, and you just keep trying to fill the bucket
Yeah.
with all this stuff. all you actually have to do is plug the hole in the bottom of the bucket, and then you won't need all this volume of stuff and to-dos and all of that. So I thought that was such a great
I think that's a
metaphor.
great thing too, especially for high achievers. It's not uncommon. Like we moms are on a mission. They on a mission. This is what I got to do. I know what I have. It's either a to-do list, a to-do board. It is something. Okay.
Yes.
And it's nonstop. And then you sit back and wonder and say, why am I so tired?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think women are so tired because of our to-do list. What, we insist on doing everything. We insist it has to be perfect. It's so exhausting. But also, we do have to recognize that the external world puts a lot of pressure on
Mhm.
women, on mothers. That pressure simply does not exist to the same degree for men, period. It's if a father picks up his son from school one day, he's a hero, but if a mother's not there every day, she's terrible. If a man brings home fast food for dinner, he's a hero. If a woman brings it home, she's lazy. It's endless, of the double standards, the ridiculous expectations, the roles that we're supposed to play. And so it's not all our own doing, to ourselves. Society certainly puts extra burden and weight on women that we internalize.
I agree with that. And we begin to believe that that's the norm.
Uh,
It was at one point, especially when I was blogging, when it came to me, I was like, I need to determine my own normal. My normal is totally different from everyone else. So if my normal looks odd to you, it's because it's mine.
if this looks odd to you, it's because it's mine. I know. Why do we allow, other people to sit in judgment, or we're affected by their judgment about our decisions when it's our life?
Mhm.
It's yeah, but I think that can be part of that protective shield that we have to build up. It's like once we believe in ourselves, we are
Mhm.
much less affected by the outside world. I used to be so focused on what people thought of my career, what people thought of my decisions. And now I just don't care. If
Mhm.
somebody says, "Oh, that little boutique company that you run," and it sounds condescending, I go, "Yep, it's just great. It's great because it's mine and it's
I
me."
know that's right.
It's, but I cared a lot when I had that dragon. I cared a lot about what other people, you know.
Yeah, I do know. I do know. And one thing you quoted my girl in your book, I live by her all the time. I love her poetry. I love everything about her. Maya Angelou. You
Mm,
talked about when we know better, you do better.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that's so important. And it's okay to know better and it's okay to do better. And it's okay to say, hey, that's your opinion, but that's not for me.
right, right. I'm gonna keep doing me because it's my life. It's one other thing I was gonna mention about the burdens of society on us. I watched a documentary recently on Amazon, and it's called "Sis You Okay?" question mark. And it's actually filmed in my hometown, Richmond, Virginia. And it follows five Black women and their struggles with self doubt, mental health, and the stigma that is
Mm.
around that for Black women. And it was very eye opening for me to hear about this additional burden where the women are saying, I'm seen as a pillar of strength in my community. And so I'm not allowed to be weak. I'm not allowed to ask for help. Therapy is hugely stigmatized, and I thought, damn, like that's just a whole nother layer and burden of silence,
Hmm.
that Black women face. And I just think it's so important for everybody to be able to talk about what's going on inside.
Catherine, I carried that with the dragon. That was what really helped me and held me back too, because I used to feel that way when I used to hear folks say, be vulnerable. It's okay. I used to be like, no, it's not. I have to show up strong all the time. I have to go hard 150%. And if I show up weak, that's a problem. And as I grew and knew better, I realized that that person that was vulnerable was really the strong one. That's what I realized. And
Yes. Yes.
and it's something that we need to talk about. Yes, we are very hush hush about it because culturally it's you keep it to yourself. What goes on in your home stays in your home. We don't talk about those things. You don't put that out there because we have to be a pillar of strength. And let me tell you something, that being that pillar of strength leads to chronic disease and illness. It's why
No,
we have hypertension.
no doubt. It weighs on your heart and your soul and your blood vessels and your organs and your
Mhm.
mind. And I mean, people die early
Mhm.
because of this,
Mhm.
and I just think it's so important for everybody to recognize, that additional burden. To your point, it's not as easy as just saying,
Mm-mm. It's not
talk
easy at
about
all.
it, go to therapy. It's and that's just like this. I would imagine it's suffocating.
It is very suffocating. It took a lot of courage for me to say to my 3 grown children, "I don't wanna be strong today." And then I felt guilty about it and I cried and I said, "I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And I realized shortly after that, it was probably maybe a couple years ago. And I realized shortly after that, when I was going through my journey of self-forgiveness, I said to my middle child, my son, I said, "I'm sorry I wasn't present the way I needed to be present." And he said to me, "Mom, you never missed a game. You always was there. You always showed up for me." And then he said, "And I knew you were crying at night when we were in the room and when you thought we were sleeping. I knew you were crying. I just didn't say anything."
Mm.
And it was I'm tearing up thinking about it because I remember the conversation, and it was so eye-opening for me because I was like, here I am thinking I'm this pillar of strength and I'm hiding it from my kids, and they knew it was happening, you know?
Yeah,
So we coat ourselves with this armor because we want to believe it's a certain way,
yeah,
but they're paying attention. Whether it's your kids, it's your spouse, it's your significant other, they see it,
yeah,
you know, and they may not say anything to you about it because they're like, maybe she's just not ready to talk about it right now,
right.
but they see it.
Yeah,
When my son said that to me, I cried because what I was like, all this time I thought I was hiding it, but
yeah,
not even
yeah.
think.
But what a beautiful full circle moment of, first and foremost, you had the courage to say it out loud. You had the courage to say, I cannot be strong today. And you had the courage to apologize, even when you felt bad. You were just opening those lines of communication that then I would imagine, just open even more lines of
It
communication with
had.
you and your children, where now I don't have to wear this mask. Now I don't have to have this facade. Now I don't have to pretend that I'm okay when I'm not okay. And what a lesson you have taught your children.
Yeah, I like to relate it to get actionable because when I read that in your book, I was like, yeah, I get that. And for me, because they are so dear to me, my 3 are so dear. Like it really matters what they see, how we communicate, how we love on each other, how we support each other, and how we show up for each other. But it starts with how I show up. And I felt like that was my get actionable moment. For a
Very.
woman that's, how do I get actionable? What do I do? What would you say? First, explain get actionable. They probably like, Renee, you all up in the book. You didn't even tell us what page it's on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, being actionable, I mean, it's what you're describing. It's a very specific change in behavior. Maybe you say, from this day forward, I'm only gonna speak things out loud that I truly believe.
Mm,
I'm not gonna put on a facade. I'm not gonna say I'm great, when I'm not great. It's committing to doing the peek and pit with your family, committing to opening up to your children, committing to open up to a girlfriend of yours. And for people that are struggling opening up to people in their life about how they are struggling, sometimes I invite people to put it in an email. And I know that sounds kind of cold, but women are terrified to stand up for themselves, terrified. And so they have the conversation in their mind. I'm going to go to my friend or my partner or my spouse or somebody. I'm going to ask for additional help, or my children, but they get so nervous and then they blurt out something, and then it probably starts an argument. It just kind of goes south fairly quickly sometimes. And women just start backtracking. But if you could put it in an email, that's a great way to first take action. And, again, whoever you need to tell in your life, I'm having a hard time. I need to believe in myself more. I'm going to start reading more self-help books. I'm going to start going for walks more often. I'm going to take time for me to heal, whatever you want to say. And then you say, and I hope you're going to support me on this, because the more I can show up for myself, the more I can show up for you. But when you pour your heart out in that way, people are unlikely to disagree with you, or they're unlikely to not support you. That's so that can just be easier and more comfortable sometimes for women.
I think that's a good idea, because one of the things that we learned too in corporate America, type your email, say what you want to say, don't hit send, leave it in draft, and then go back and read it.
Yes.
So that's to be able to express that way in writing. I know for me, words jump off the page. So in order to express all of the baggage that I had, that's why I started blogging first. And I started blogging from way back. I went all the way back to I went to the bookmobile outside of my house, in fourth grade, to go get Judy Blume books, okay? Because it was freeing. And you want to know the crazy part? My kids got to know me better as they read the blog. One of them said to me, "Yeah, sometimes I read it and I just cry. I had no idea."
Isn't that, I mean, do you feel seen? Like, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like I was just so honest with them and so raw. And even for other family members or anyone that read it, it made me feel free. I felt free. And I still do. I feel like it's a level of freedom that no one can take away. And it's no longer holding me captive anymore.
No. And the freedom that you felt is because your insides are matching your outsides. What you feel on the inside is being expressed, through your blog, through your podcast, on the outside. And when the opposite is true, when your insides are not reflected outside, it's a very painful way to live. It's exhausting. Someone once said we are as sick as our secrets.
Ooh,
And I
I
was
can believe that.
I felt that. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
Lord, that is, and I think for people that have this dragon of self-doubt, who then are wearing this mask and pretending, it's almost a double life in that sense. People who wear a mask, I always say, if you want to know if you're wearing a mask, just pay attention if you answer questions twice, once in your mind and then once out loud. So when someone says, "How are you?" and you're like, "I'm miserable," whatever you're thinking, and then you're like, "I'm great." That's a mask, and that is a lie. And your life's work is to get your insides to match your outsides and be comfortable, with that. So every time you lie and say everything's fine when it's not, what you're telling your soul is that somebody else's opinion of you matters more than the truth, matters more than your truth. And so other people might not know you're wearing a mask, because that's the point, right? It's a mask. Right. But you know you're wearing it. And that's what matters. Your soul knows that you're lying.
Yeah. I can relate to that. There were times in my life where I walked away from a meeting or interaction with someone, and I said I should have won an Oscar. I was acting so good. I should be nominated for an Oscar. I played that role.
Yep. And that's why women are, we're just fascinating creatures. So we keep all of this inside, we lie and we hide and we perform, we put on this
Mhm.
mask, we're on a stage, we're performing. And then when we finally come clean and say we're miserable, we're overwhelmed, we're exhausted, we're dying inside, people are stunned. I mean, they
Yes.
are stunned, and we're stunned that they're stunned, but we never told anybody any of this stuff. And so that's another reason that the people in your life may not be as helpful as you want them to be, because it takes a while for them to believe that this
Mhm.
is the truth, because you were on a stage for 20 or 30 years of your life performing. Yeah.
Intermissions with costume changes, everything.
Lights. I mean, it was a
Mhm.
Renaissance tour. I
Okay,
mean,
it
it
sure was.
was
Food trucks outside. Have your pick.
serving everybody like jazz hands, like just, what do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? You know,
Yes,
it's
that really resonates. I really loved your book. I have one more question for you though. Before I, well, two actually, because I want to make sure me timers can go out and get this book. Because let me tell you, I really enjoyed it. I was so excited when I read it. But my first question is, what advice would you give your younger self to help cultivate self trust?
I would say don't wait so long to love yourself.
I think that's a good one too. Yeah, don't
Don't
wait
take
so
the
long.
long road. Don't take the find some shortcuts.
Not the scenic route.
No, no, because you know what I'm convinced, Renee, is, if we live to be 85 years old, we're not going to care what other people think of us. We're not going to care what other people do with their lives. And we're going to love ourselves and we're going to be proud of ourselves, at that age. So I just want to help women get there faster. Like, let's get there at 65 or 55 or 35 or 25 or 15. Let's not wait until we're at 85, because we're going to end up in the same destination. We just need to get there faster.
I know that's right. And with that, how can me timers get your book? Because let me tell you something, y'all. You want to read this book.
I
I
love it.
loved it. I really
Well,
did.
I can't tell you how happy it makes me think picturing you like calling your sister. Like, this book proposal was rejected for 4 years by 23 publishers, and there was just a long time that I never thought I would be talking to someone and they would say they read the book and called their sister and told them about it. So it makes me so happy. And people can buy the books available on Amazon, where most books are sold too. And then it's also available on Audible in case there's some busy moms and you want to listen to the book. And it's my voice. So I'll be, reading you your bedtime stories if you like.
It has been such a pleasure to have you on. I truly, truly appreciate you, and I appreciate the book. Thank you so much. It's been my joy. It's been my joy.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I love the work you're doing. And I will continue to watch you slay.
Thank you, girl. We're going to be slaying. That's what we do. All right, me timers. You heard it here first. You want to go out and get the book, Slay Like a Mother. I'm going to leave all of the information in the show notes. And I just want to say, this is me time with Mind Escape Vibe. Where does your time to be kind to your mind? You have a great day now.